Okay, so I promised a rules video for the Jurassic Park card game, and that's what this video is going to be. We're going to try and just demonstrate a one-sided look at how the game is played here. Just kind of simulate gameplay. I couldn't find my actual cards because I had moved and everything was kind of still packed up. So this is probably the best option. Plus, if I did like a camera video, it would probably be tilted and people get mad at me. So let's just do it this way. So this is the kind of the starting situation for the game. You start with a blue titled species card in play. This deck that I've conceptually made, it starts with Sinoceratops. Then you draw a hand of 4 cards. You can choose to throw these 4 cards back and draw a new hand of 4. You only get one of those, one mulligan. And you start with $10, except you have to pay for your starter, right? So this 10, since we have a 3 cost, see the rarity up in the corner of the card there, we have to immediately go down to $7 at the start. And these costs can vary up to 5 for rarity, cost you up to 5 revenue. Up here in the corner, we have the phase order for the turn. So if we take our first turn, we go through the upkeep phase. We have nothing to do during the upkeep phase because we have nothing that triggers that. We go to draw phase. Draw phase is we draw 2 cards. So let's do that. So we've drawn Frog DNA and When You Gotta Go. So that's it. 2 draws. That's the entire phase. Action phase, we can play an action on card in play, or we can play an action card from our hand. So we're going to play Capital Investment. This immediately gains us 3 revenue, increasing our money back to 10. Boom, and then this is discarded. We'll just disappear it there. Oh my god, give me this back, please. This is going to be a little rough around the edges. I'm sorry, but I don't have a good way to like present this. So yeah, that's all that happens in our action phase. You get 1 action per action phase, be it a card from hand or a card from play. You don't get one of each or anything, but there are effects, of course, that give you extra actions. Next, we go to the tour phase. At the start of your tour phase, the first thing you do is you pull Chaos. If you have a Chaos effect in your park, you don't have one in this case with the board we have, just Sinoceratops. So that is skipped. Then if you have any escape attempts that you need to resolve in your park, then you resolve those, figure out which animals escape or not. If an animal escapes, well, you lose you lose revenue equal to the ferocity value of the species that have escaped. And then you do the tour, the money collection part of the tour phase. You exhibit the species that have not escaped, and then you add their income level to your total. So that brings us up to $11, 11 revenue, that is. Chaos effects trigger. You do escapes, you gain money. Those are the 3 steps. This is followed by construction phase. Construction phase is another sort of 2-parter. Not exactly because you can do these in any order, but you're allowed to hire as many employees as you want and build 1 facility or paddock upgrade. So we're going to build the Le Gigante, we'll just put this like here, the restaurant from Jurassic Park. We pay $1 for that, bringing us back down to 10 revenue, rather, 1 revenue. These are mystery currency units. That's why they're revenue, not dollars. And yeah, this has an upkeep trigger. So, great. Cloning phase. So the cloning phase, this is a 2-choice phase. You can do one of 2 things. You can either add a token to an existing species, a population token, or you can clone a new species. So usually it's better to add population first because that protects your species from getting injured. If an animal is injured, you lose a token off of the species card rather than injuring the species itself. We pay $4 is the default for revenue. I'm going to keep saying dollars. It's shorthand. That's a bad habit. We pay 4 revenue to clone the new species, then we add a token. So you put a handy little marker there to represent the additional population. We now have 2 Sinoceratops in this park. And the little marker just adds 1 to the income level. So the base stats are defined for like the species level, and the income is what scales up a little bit based on the animal you're going with. This is always +1. It's not +1 because the base is 1. So if this is base 3 income, you add a population, then it would be 4 income total. And then the last phase of the turn is the obstacle phase, but it is the first turn, and we skip the obstacle phase on the first turn. Every player skips. So the opponent goes next, they go through all these, they also skip the obstacle phase, and it comes back to us. We gain 1 revenue during the upkeep. We draw 2 cards again. So we've drawn Cretaceous Cruise and Security Sweep. After the draw phase, we go to the action phase. We can play Frog DNA. This is a gene modification. So this gene mod goes on our Sinoceratops. Let me put it underneath them here. So the Frog DNA, if you look at the effect there, Chaos Effect 0 or 4, add 1 population, right? So now we get a Chaos Effect this turn. So that's our 1 action. On our tour phase, we first resolve the Chaos Effect. We pull a random card from the deck. Boom. We reveal it. So we draw a hide. Chaos 2. Our effect allows us to make this a Chaos 3, but Frog DNA needs a 0 or a 4 to trigger. So Frog DNA does not trigger. Hide goes under the deck, and we move on. We draw 1 Chaos Effect, and that applies to all Chaos effects in the park. So that 1 number is used to determine all of which abilities trigger. You don't pull a separate card for each effect. And then we would do escape attempts if there are any, but no obstacles could be played on the first turn, so that doesn't happen. And then we gain revenue. 1 income plus 1 for 1 token brings us up to 9. Next, we have the construction phase. We can play this Cretaceous Cruise Paddock upgrade. So the paddock upgrade costs 2, bringing us back down to 7. We play the cruise. We pick which paddock to put it in. So currently, we technically have 3 paddocks as it stands. Let's adjust these a little bit. There we go. So we have the paddock with the Sinoceratops, but since we have a paddock defined here, we also have 2 empty paddocks on either side. This is the layout of our park. So we can put the cruise here, we can put the cruise here, or we can put the cruise here. And that determines which areas it will affect. This gives herbivores and spinosaurids in this paddock and adjacent paddocks plus 1 income. So I think what we'll do is we'll put it over here. Since it still affects this first paddock, we can now put a second upgrade in here and have the effects kind of stack, right? So that's the end of the construction phase. In the cloning phase, we can then go ahead and bring in the Pachyrhinosaurus as a new animal. Go down to 3. We can then pick which enclosure to put that in. It can go here. It can go here. Oh yes, and paddocks are defined by the species, not the upgrade. So this is not a legal placement. This is not, right? So we're going to put it here at the cruise. Just like that. So now these 2 are adjacent to each other. Now we have a paddock here next to the Sinoceratops and a paddock here next to the Pachyrhinosaurus. This has another Chaos Effect, a Chaos Effect 4, so we can stack these 2 on the same trigger effectively. Let's slide these guys down. Actually, hold on. Let's play our obstacle for the turn. We'll play this sudden attack. So this sudden attack, this is a hidden obstacle. So we play this face down. So when we play it from our hands, put it back in our hand for a second. What we do, give me 1 moment, is we just slap this thing down on the board, face down and hidden. So the opponent doesn't know what this is. They only know we played a hidden obstacle. We've queued something up for them to worry about later. In this case, we're playing the sudden attack now so that next turn we can double dip with When You Gotta Go and sudden attack and cause double breakouts in the same turn in the rival park. Okay, sorry, I realized the phase diagram here was in the wrong spot. On the opponent's turn, the opponent then hits us with a West Indian Lilac. They play this as their obstacle. They target the Pachyrhinosaurus with this. This is an instant obstacle. It is immediately resolved. And it says injure an herbivore in a rival park. So what happens is the Pachyrhinosaurus here, we rotate this. Hold on, give me a second. Layer, transform, rotate 90 degrees. Boom. So he's rotated. That means he's injured. That reduces all of his stats by 1. If he becomes injured again, he dies and is removed from play. He goes to the discard pile, to the trash. Then the West Indian Lilac is discarded after it finishes resolving. That was the opponent's obstacle. It comes back to our turn. Upkeep hits. We gain 1 up to 4. We draw 2 cards for the turn. On our turn, we draw Hatch and Life Finds a Way. We take our actions for the turn. We play Hatch. Add a population to any species. You may either draw a card or take another action. We're going to go ahead and add... Let me duplicate this guy. Add a population to this guy to protect him from being killed. Hatch is discarded, and then we get to take another action. We can play Life Finds a Way. Choose a species, pull Chaos. If Chaos is 2 or more, gains 1 population. If Chaos is 4 or more, or 4 specifically, it gains 2 population instead. We pull Chaos, and we get a pull of 2. So this specific Chaos pull here is not a Chaos effect, right? This is just a pull. Pull Chaos and Chaos effect are different. A Chaos effect is always a pull of Chaos, but a pull of Chaos is not always a Chaos effect. So this effect here would not trigger Frog DNA or Pachyrhinosaurus. This only applies for the card we've specifically just played. Since we hit a 2, we get 1 more token, and we can go ahead and add another token here to the Pachyrhinosaurus, giving him 3 population, although the base species card is still injured. So there's an injured one conceptually, and then 2 healthy ones. That's kind of how it works. But you still get like penalized because of the injured animal, right? That's the idea there. So we then discard, we put the electrified fences underneath the deck in the same way we put the Chaos effect, Chaos pulls under the deck, and then the Life Finds a Way is discarded. And our action phase is done. At the start of the tour phase, we pull Chaos, we pull a 3 Control Room. We use the Sinoceratops effect to make the save 4, and then it triggers both Pachyrhinosaurus and Frog DNA. Frog DNA then goes ahead and adds another population counter to Sinoceratops, and we get +3 income on the Pachyrhinosaurus this turn. Control Room goes under the deck. Then we would resolve any breakouts. We have no breakout attempts in the park, so those are not happening this turn. And then we sum up our gained income, 3 from Sinoceratops, 2 from Pachyrhinosaurus. It is income 0, +2 here, base 1, +2, and then 2 from Cretaceous Cruise. So yeah, we're getting 3, and we're getting 4. So 7 total, putting us up to 11. After the tour phase, we go to construction phase. We don't have anything to do there, so that's essentially skipped. We go to the cloning phase. We can pay 4 here to clone another population. And then we have the obstacle phase. We're going to hit the opponent with a when you gotta go. So this is not instant. So this is played to the opponent's park, and then on their turn, they resolve it. And we'll see an example of that in a little bit. And then we also, when it comes around to the opponent's turn and this is getting resolved, we want to pop our sudden attack off, flip it over the face down. Oops, I moved things. We flip over the face down. We also pop the sudden attack. We target a second animal in that same park and try to have these like double breakouts, so maybe they don't gain any money if they have 2 species in that park. Then at the end of the opponent's turn, the obstacles here are cleared out. During the opponent's turn, they drop another West Indian Lilac on us, targeting the Sinoceratops, so the Sinoceratops loses a population counter to the injury. A member of the herd has died effectively, and that's resolved instantly because that's an instant obstacle. Then our turn rolls back around. During upkeep, we gain the 1 from the restaurant. Then we hit the draw phase, draw 2. We draw Henry Wu and Veterinary Care for our turn. When our action phase comes around, we can play the Veterinary Care, heal any species in your park, trash any persistent obstacles attached to it. No obstacles on the Pachyrhinosaurus, which is the one we are going to heal. Let's get him turned right side up. So yes, you go ahead and turn him right side up, and you no longer get the reduction to the stats. Veterinary Care is then discarded. We hit the tour phase. We pull Chaos. We pull a 1. Can't modify that high enough to trigger our effects, so those don't happen. So that is just put under the deck. And then we sum up our money. 2 for the base values, 4 for the tokens, 2 for the crews. So we're gaining 8 here up to 16. And then we go to the construction phase. Nothing else happens during the tour phase here. We can hire Henry Wu this turn, bringing him into play. We just play him for free. He's got payroll. This is an upkeep cost rather than a play from hand cost. So the Le Gigante, when you build that, you have to pay the 1 immediately. When you hire Henry Wu, you just have to pay this every subsequent turn to keep him on the staff. Then we go to cloning phase. We can go ahead and continue to invest in our animals here. Maybe protect Sinoceratops a little bit more. Pay the 4. Breed the new population. Getting back essentially the one we lost. And then we have no obstacles for the obstacle phase, so we just skip that one. On the opponent's turn, they do all their stuff, and then they play an obstacle on us. So they play a clever girl on our Pachyrhinosaurus. Pachyrhinosaurus is going to make an escape attempt. If it succeeds, it trashes a random employee in the same park. Then the turn passes to us. On our upkeep, we gain 1 up to 13. And then we have to pay 1 for the payroll. So this is the start of upkeep, gain 1 revenue, and then payroll is after the upkeep triggers, right? So we gain the 1 from Le Gigante, which we can always use to pay Henry Wu's payroll. So we go to 13, back down to 12. Then we draw our 2 for the turn. We draw Acid Containment Unit and Allosaurus. We go to our action phase. We play Acid Containment Unit. All species are -1 ferocity, -1 security. That way the Pachyrhinosaurus is less likely to break out this turn. We clear the ACU from play. We go to the tour phase. We pull Chaos. Let's just say we pull a species card. No, this is a good demonstration. We pull a species card. This has a rarity number up in the corner, not a chaos number. So this is always considered a 0 for a species card. So this is Chaos 0. It doesn't trigger our effects. We put that under the deck. Next, we deal with the clever girl. So target species in a park makes an escape attempt. If the escape attempt succeeds, trash a random employee. So let's resolve this into possible ways. We played the ACU. So this is ferocity 2, security 1. Which means the only way this escapes is if we flip over another species card on this chaos pull. That's the way the escape attempt is resolved. You pull chaos again for the escape attempt. We pull 0. It is 1 security. 0 is below 1, so the Pachyrhinosaurus escapes. We lose $3 on account of its ferocity value, bringing us down to 9. And because of the effect, Henry Wu is trampled to death by a Pachyrhinosaurus, apparently, and goes to the discard pile. Boom. And then at the end of the turn, we will end up discarding the clever girl. The Dimetrodon goes under the deck again next to the other Dimetrodon we just revealed. And then when we calculate our money for the turn, the Pachyrhinosaurus escaped, so we don't get any money from this, so we only gain 4. So we took a pretty big financial hit that turn on account of the escape, putting us up to 13 revenue. So yeah, the other outcome, of course, would be if the escape failed, right? So if the escape failed, we would flip over something else, like a capital investments, chaos 1, for security 1 because of the ACU. Equal or higher means it doesn't escape. And then this effect doesn't apply. We would keep Wu, and then we would gain an additional 5 revenue, and we wouldn't lose the 2. It was supposed to be 2 because of the ACU team. We should actually be at 14 here. So those are the 2 ways that, that could play out. And that's how all escape attempts work. A lot of them, of course, have these little extra triggers. So hopefully that's clear. So yeah, then we toured, we gain the money, we hit the construction phase, we have nothing to construct. We hit the cloning phase, we can go ahead and clone our Allosaurus for 8, down to 6. We move him to a paddock. We're going to choose to put him over here. That way we can leave the paddock next to the Pachyrhinosaurus clear for the another herbivore to capitalize on Cretaceous cruise. And then at the end of the turn, well, we play our obstacle, but we don't have any. Then at the end of the turn, we clear out the opposing obstacles from our park that are not persistent. So we toss away the, I'm looking for it in my list here. I have completely lost it. Clever Girl. Boom. Clever Girl's discarded. We're not gonna take any more turns here. This is a good example. I think that's enough. Of course, if the opponent plays we got some other things, right? So if the opponent plays a persistent obstacle, like testing the fences, boom, testing the fences, attaches to a species, +1 security and ferocity, so they can make our Allosaurus test the fences for weaknesses. And now he's got these penalties effectively that make him more likely to escape. This is persistent, so it stays in the park until it's cleared by something else. If we want to clear it, we need to end up like drawing something like a Paleo Vet card, which clears a behavior obstacle. So we would play this as our action, and then that would discard testing the fences. That's the only way to get rid of it. Gastric poisoning here. Persistent attaches to an herbivore, injures when attached, and then yeah, this adds a chaos effect. So if you have Sinoceratops, it's actually easier for you to clear diseases because you have this effect, this modifier that allows you to change your chaos rolls, which then also applies to the obstacles, right? So potentially, with these chaos rolls, you could end up in a situation where Sinoceratops, we have to choose between two sets. Like if you have a chaos 3 and a chaos 4, the Sinoceratops effect would allow you to choose 3 or 4 if you pulled a 3, right? So that's how those work. So yeah, I mean, that should give you a pretty good idea of how the game plays out. For victory conditions, there are 2 ways to win the game. One way you win the game. Let's clear some of this excess stuff here. Clear you, clear you. The simplest way to win the game, the secondary victory condition. It's not easier, but it's simpler. Is just have $50. If your turn begins and you have $50, you win. You've financially secured your park's future. You have so much money that, you can't be stopped, essentially. That's a secondary victory condition. The primary victory condition is the fame total here on the animals, so let me demonstrate what that might look like. So this is what our park looks like with an Ankylosaurus and Tyrannosaurus added to it. When it comes time to exhibit, if all these animals are successfully exhibited in the same turn, none of them escape or are blocked, you tally up your fame, and if you exceed 15, you win. So we can see 5, 10, 17, so we would win. This can be, of course, stopped by any escape attempt card or something like no-show. And if somebody had no-showed the Sinoceratops, it wouldn't matter because we have plenty of other fame, but if they no-show the Tyrannosaurus, delays the victory for a turn. We don't get the money, we don't win. Yeah, I think I've covered essentially everything. There might be some other little quirks of individual cards that I forgot to cover, but you can always reach out on Discord or in the comments of the video for more explanations if there is any questions or anything I haven't covered. I guess we could talk about deck building, just so that it's also in the rules video. A deck is 66 cards, 67 counting your starter. So you begin with 1 blue titled card in play, like the Sinoceratops. Then for every number, chaos number, including species, which remember is 0, you then have 10 regular ones, like Ankylosaurus, Allosaurus, and Pachyrhinosaurus. Plus you get 1 headliner with a gold title, like 1 Tyrannosaurus. So your deck could be 2 Ankies, 2 Allos, 2 Pachyrhinos, 2 Dilophosaurus, and 2 Baryonyx, and then 1 Tyrannosaurus. And that would be all your zeros. That would be 11 cards. And then you do the same thing for the actions, which are 1, the paddock upgrades, which are 2s, the facilities and employees, which are 3s, and then the obstacles, which are 4s and 5s. So 11 4s, 11 5s for 22 obstacles in a deck. And that's simply it. That's how the deck building works. Yeah, so that's kind of it for coverage for the alpha version. Someday, if I have infinite time, I'll do the full revamp and expansion that I want to plan, which will be based around more choice. Instead of having all these action-based phases, you'll just have like 4 actions in a turn, And you can pick which things to do. Do you want to clone something? Do you want to build something? Do you want to play an action? That kind of shit. It'll be a little more strategic. I'm not that I'm like completely unhappy with like the current iteration. There's still some interesting interactions and stuff in here, but like allowing you more choice in how you take your turn will push it to the next level, I think. So that's kind of why I want to do that. All right. Well, let's wrap this one up here. Until next time, which won't be a card game video, but you know what I mean.